Hey, Kirk. What can I get you?
Nothing, sir. I just thought I'd pop by and see if there was any news about Freddy.
Nothing yet, I'm afraid.
Oh, bummer.
Yes, that's one word that describes it.
We'll let you know if we hear anything, though.
Sir, there was something else I meant to talk to you about and all.
Well, take your time. It's not like we're busy or anything.
Oh, yeah. I've set up a WhatsApp group for local dog walkers, just so people know what's going on. Try and stop this sort of thing happening again. It's called Woof Justice. Would you like me to add you?
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 303 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that contains scenes some viewers may find difficult to reconcile with things they watched 2 decades ago. I'm Gavin.
And you made me sick.
You made me sick.
I did not. You were sick well before I was sick.
You have made me sick, though.
Yes, and you have made me sick.
So let's just call it even and move
And then
on
there
with our
was that
lives.
time where we kept giving one another strep throat because you refused to go to the doctor and get antibiotics because you insisted
You never
it
clean your
wasn't-
car.
You put dirty dishes away. And you bought me a car this week, so it makes it all better.
So that makes up for it all, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, we're at that stage in the financing of the old car where I had one payment left to make, and I'm like, I don't want to not be making a payment to a car, because once you stop making a payment to a car, suddenly you just start spending that money somewhere else, and then when you need to get a car, you can't afford it.
Right.
That's my thinking anyway. I don't know how sensible it is, but
It sounds sensible to me.
oh my God, cars are expensive now.
They are.
More expensive than they were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And interest rates have gone up, so that's great.
Well, at least we weren't interested in a Cybertruck.
A Cybertruck?
Seriously? You don't know what a Cybertruck is?
I can imagine.
The stupid Tesla
Oh,
Cybertruck things.
oh, is that a piece of shit?
It is a piece of shit.
Excellent.
They've all been recalled
Oh,
because you
great.
can't get them wet.
Oh, that's unfortunate
It is unfortunate.
because of weather.
Yes.
I can see where that would cause a problem.
Yes. Just a little one.
So, if you haven't gathered already, Helen and I are feeling probably still a little bit under the weather, but we were terribly under the weather last night with
And
maybe
yesterday, yes.
maybe just half a voice between the two of us.
It was awful.
So we are recording on a Saturday morning, which we haven't done for the longest time,
In
and it
ages.
feels very weird.
It does. It does. We're actually drinking coffee.
I know.
We are actually drinking coffee.
Whatever next.
We are actually drinking coffee people bought us. Hypothetically.
Sure.
Metaphorically.
I will be buying a coffee that someone has bought us later today. So how have you been otherwise? You happy with your car?
I am happy with my car. It's delightful. I don't have to unplug and replug my phone into the car every time a podcast ends. And I still don't understand why the old car did that. But I don't have to do that anymore, which is nice.
Have you tried hooking up the Bluetooth?
Oh, it has the Apple CarPlay. So that's basically, it's fine.
Said you haven't to plug it in though.
Yeah, but I need to plug it in anyway to charge it on my way to work. Because I use my phone a lot at work. And my battery is shit on my phone. According to the guy at the Apple store.
Ah, the guy at the Apple
Who
store.
cleaned my phone as we chatted about Dune.
Do you trust the guy at the Apple store?
He was delightful and gay, so yes.
And he had luscious hair.
He did. He had gorgeous hair. He was very sweet. I have never had a bad experience at the Apple store. They're all very nice people there.
Typically, yes.
Yes.
I saw people using the Pro Vision ski goggles
Yes.
stuff. They were looking silly
Yes.
as they pinched the air round about them. There was a guy that was looking like he was about to buy it for his daughter. I'm like,
Really?
way too much money.
Right.
It's still like $3,500. And if you use glasses, you have to get little prescription lenses cut
Yes.
that add another $500 on top of it.
Right. Yes.
$4,000.
Yes. I feel like I need to clarify. Apple, the company, is evil.
Oh, is it?
But, well, Yes, because it's all proprietary and you can't use other stuff with it, and other stuff doesn't work with it, and lots of other stuff. But the people they hire to work in their stores are delightful and kind and nice and diverse.
Yes.
And I've never had a problem with them.
No, I agree.
But, considering that they don't give you a free charger anymore when you buy one of their extremely expensive phones, yes, the company itself is evil.
I remember the days when you bought an iPhone, you got this little, it wasn't even plastic, it was like a ceramic stand.
Yeah.
That you would slot your phone into,
Yeah.
so that it would stand like a bit of a monolith,
Right.
and that would also charge it. And I think was there a speaker in it? Maybe not, but they gave you that. They gave you the cords that you need for it.
Right.
They gave you a pair of earbuds.
Yep.
Now these days, they give you the phone and they tell you to build it yourself,
Yeah. And to fuck off.
and then fuck off. Buy your phone and fuck off.
Right. Yeah, because they can.
I think that's a little tagline at the bottom of the Apple logo, isn't it?
Yes.
Buy it and fuck off. Okay.
And people do, including us.
You couldn't buy a Samsung now.
You could.
Can you imagine the hassle? You just
No.
go buy another phone, another iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
All right. What were we talking about before we started talking about iPhone?
Who cares? Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that sniffly Corrie news.
Bill Roach attributes his longevity at 92 to his fun fitness class where they play tag zombies and basketball, as well as vegetables and plenty of water.
Just play vegetables and plenty of water?
No, he attributes it to fun fitness, vegetables,
Oh, I
and
see.
plenty of water. Yes. Apparently this fun fitness class is like for people of all ages. He was talking about playing with a 5-year-old in this class, and it's like, okay, Bill. Anyway, Lucy Fallon has opened up about her miscarriage before her pregnancy with son Sonny on the show Drama Queens, giving voice to the many women who have also experienced this trauma in their lives. Kind of ties in nicely to a storyline in Corrie this week, which we'll talk about later, even though that wasn't technically a miscarriage. It was a stillbirth. Anyway, I feel like I've talked about that enough. And finally, James Craven, who played Amy's rapist Aaron on Corrie.
Oh,
Remember him?
Aaron, yes.
Yes. Will now star in the Paramount Plus show Curfew, which is set in a fictitious world where men are required to stay home between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. to protect women from men. Which...
Oh, it's kind of like the opposite of the Purge then.
No,
Maybe.
because women can murder people during the purge as well. But women aren't affected by this curfew, only men.
So women can go out and kill.
Well, I don't think anybody's supposed to be killing anyone in this show.
Oh.
No. Women just go out and feel safe after dark because men are technically not allowed. It's illegal for men to be out at night.
Got it.
Yeah.
I never go out at night anyway.
Well, sometimes.
I rarely kill, though.
Yeah. That's good.
I think so.
Yeah. And that's Corrie News.
Well done, you, on 3 items of Corrie news that all individually managed to link seamlessly into our feedback section that I like to call Everyone's a Critic. We will wake up as this goes on, I think, won't we?
I think I'm pretty awake.
Okay, good. Mark writes, it's funny, I'm watching your last episode, Dogs with 5 Legs, on YouTube at the moment, listening to you guys argue with each other about whether Sean's move out of Eileen's was helped by the florist van or the underworld van, and whether the van was black or white. And the picture you have to accompany the story is of Sean standing in front of the actual van. For your information, the van was black and belonged to the knicker factory, so I think you're both half wrong. Also, I'm 99% sure that antisocial Lauren was Layla or Leah or something like that. Do I win a $5? Thank you, Mark, and no.
No, we don't have £5 notes here to give you, even if we could or wanted to.
This used to have a letters page where people would ask for a $5. I will send you a pencil, though, if you want a pencil.
And also, thank you for calling us both half wrong instead of half right.
Yeah, that's where the comedy lies. Then Wendy writes in about her own list of forgotten things, wondering if Izzy's boyfriend belongs on it.
I don't think he was a boyfriend. It's played by her actual husband, but I think he was just her neighbor.
He was the traffic warden guy.
And he was also the traffic warden guy, yes, and he's disappeared. And with no explanation.
He was great because he was helping. Was it Sally he was helping with the traffic that was on the street or something?
Something like that.
Fergus,
yes.
Fergus sings the blues. I don't know, shall we pop that on the list?
Yes, I think so, because he has disappeared and with no explanation.
So I will put Izzy's boyfriend / real life husband.
Well, neighbor. He wasn't a boyfriend.
Okay. So let's just go over Wendy's list of things that the show's forgotten about. 1, Damon is a child abuser. 2 we had was PC Tinker has OCD, but they remembered that recently. Stu has a deadly cough was 3. 4, Roy gave everything to Nina, never took it back. 5, Toyah is a murderer. That's not all she is. 6, Mason ran over Eliza. I don't think that's coming back. Do you think that's coming back? They've already thrown him in jail, haven't they? And she's left.
Right.
That's never coming back. Let's strike through that one. 7, Tommy O gave evidence in support of ITV Corrie. I don't think that's coming back either.
Well, just because they're not coming back doesn't mean that it's something that we should strike from the list because...
Well, we're not deleting it. We're just striking it.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Number 8 was Chesney learning sign language. We'll keep that on. 9 was what happened to antisocial Lauren. I don't know if that's... has that been answered now by Mark?
Not really. He just gave a name, sort of, to her.
So what did happen to her? Yeah. 10, Hope Stapes fire starting tendencies. That's still valid. 11, Sharon is the leader of Harvey's gang. They're both now in jail long term, and I think we've seen the last of both of them.
Yeah.
We'll keep that on at the moment. 12, Jack Webster. And 13 now is Izzy's boyfriend / neighbour. I think it was Fergus.
Yes. /
Excellent.
real life husband.
Excellent stuff. Okay, good. A little bit of housekeeping. Moving on then, Jennifer writes, I recently went to the tour of the street and they pointed out the owners of all the precinct flats. So she sends us some photographs of them and descriptions of how they were pointed out to her from the official Corrie tour guide. There was Lauren, Ryan, Cassie and Evelyn's flat. That was the same one. Gav and Sabrina were round the corner from that. The random puppy mill woman who took in a delivery of dog food when Cassie was on the case. That was a different one. The next one was formerly Addie's and Booby McTaggart's flat. Remember Booby McTaggart?
You mean Courtney McBoobs?
Courtney Boobs, which is now, according to the tour guide, Sean and Dylan's flat.
It does not look like Sean and Dylan's flat.
The tour guide was a bit sheepish telling us this spoiler, but I'm so glad he did and hope this helps solve the mystery. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Jennifer also sent in photographs of it.
Oh.
Jessica writes, another amazing podcast. I laughed when you said about Stu and Eliza driving off. I too was convinced that the car would blow up or crash and they would both be killed. Keep up the great work. I live for Saturday mornings from Bristol in the UK. Well, I'm sorry that we're late this week.
Yes.
Adrian writes, just listening to this week's podcast, the reason I think Joel is looking so shifty is that I reckon he's behind the awful emails and phone calls so that he can be the comfort that Dee Dee needs. And I was thinking that too. But
yeah, she would recognize his voice in the phone calls.
Well, there's stuff you can do to disguise your voice.
I think you give Joel far too much
Or
credit.
you can use AI.
You know what's really funny? Last night, I was going to suggest to you that we just use AI as our voices to do the podcast this week.
That would have been fun.
It would have been fun, but it would have taken a lot of work.
An enormous amount of work.
An enormous amount of work. But I would wanted to use the Radiohead robot voice.
That was going to be you?
Yeah.
Because I can use your actual voice.
I know.
If I have a minute of you just talking.
I know, but that's not as fun as being a robot.
Oh.
Third word, be much more funny if my voice was like this the whole time.
I think you should do that anyway. I think there'd be less sniffing.
There may be more coughing though.
We'd have to put in robotic coughing. That's
yes.
very good. I think Adrian might be onto something with that. Then Sharon writes in, now I thought Sharon got us. Like, really got us, you know?
Uh-huh.
I'm starting to wonder.
Oh no.
Have you two lost the plot? Surely it's racist Lauren, not Kelly. Kelly was Kelly Nealon, the loan shark daughter. The loan shark's daughter, Rick the Chin. Didn't Dev pay her off to leave Addie the same as he paid off Titty Courtney? Now, this is where I do appreciate Sharon, where we now have two nicknames for
Courtney
the
Boobs.
same character, different from ours.
Right, yes.
If you said racist Kelly once, you must have said it 50 times. I think you've got your racists in a muddle.
No. It's a joke, Sharon. It's a joke because they look alike. Just like back in the day, we had Irish Tina, whose real name was Vicky, but we called her Irish Tina because she looked like the character Tina.
Except she was Irish.
Except she was Irish. Yes. We know her real name is Lauren. We just call her racist Kelly because she looks like Kelly. Just like Kelly the Chin, just like we call Kelly and Rick the Chin and Kelly the Chin. We know their last names aren't really the Chin, but we call them that because of Rick's big, massive chin. Hope this helps. Love, Helen and Gav.
You've got to remember, Sharon, that an awful lot of what we do is purposefully designed to frustrate people.
And to amuse people.
Well, sometimes those two go hand in hand, don't they?
It's a joke.
Yeah. Which I think we talked about recently.
Right, yes, because somebody else on Twitter kept saying, I thought her name was Lauren. And we're like, it's a joke.
No, I don't think I did that. I think I just let somebody else eventually say it.
Right, yeah. But it's a joke. It's a joke.
It's not a funny joke.
It's a funny joke to some people. Some people are amused by us calling her racist Kelly. Just like a lot of people were. I think more people were amused by Irish Tina. I think Irish Tina was funnier than racist Kelly. Just because Irish is funnier than racist.
Scottish Vicky was a good follow-up to that.
Right, yeah, but we didn't have Scottish Vicky for very long.
We didn't.
Sadly.
And then Welsh Chelsea was never a thing.
No, not yet. We'll get there.
But yeah, you would think that with all these people being confused by it, we would just start calling her Lauren, but that's not going to happen.
No, it's not. Unlike dropping the homeless from Homeless Stew.
That made sense.
And starting to call George instead of the Undertaker.
And
making jokes about the wrestler, the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And chairs and stuff.
Jokes are always funnier when you have to explain them. Sharon also writes, I reckon it's Joel sending Dee Dee the threatening emails just to make her scared and to get back with her. You said he was a wrong one, and we did. And I still think he
Well,
did.
you did.
I still think he is. Thank you very much, Sharon.
So that's two people who think Joel is sending... Is that two people now who think it's Joel sending death threats?
Well, 3 if you include me.
Right. Yeah. You guys don't reasonably think that these crazy people who are trying to dig up parks and sleep in Roy's house and say that his pictures are weird of people he loves are weird testaments to his evilness. You don't think that kind of person who we've seen in the show already wouldn't be the kind of people to send death threats and nasty emails and phone calls to his solicitor?
Joel is shifty. And every time...
I think there's more than one person sending death threats to Dee Dee.
And he just seemed to be hanging around when all that stuff was going on.
It's because it was in the courthouse where he works.
No, it was in the lawyer's office. Then Noel writes, you asked about Asha, and we got Asha. Leanne is journaling about her thoughts and feelings. We all know too much about her feelings, but I have serious doubts as to whether she has thoughts. First racist Kelly goes missing, but Freddy, that's a bridge too far.
It is a bridge too far.
Toyah has a shovel and she's not afraid to use it. The choice is clear, George. Jaffa cakes all day. Yes, Gavin, you're one of the funniest guys in the podcast biz. There we go. Ask not for whom the bell knolls. It knolls for thee. I'm starting to think that I might be Noel. Feedback is always welcome. Thank you to Noel. Thank you to Sharon, Adrian, Jessica, Jennifer, Wendy, and Mark this week for sending us their feedback. We really appreciate it. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, where DMs are open at Corrie Podcast. Please note that we reserve the right to edit feedback, but only in the interests of brevity. And now we'll podcast for coffee. Thank you to Tammy for our coffees this week.
Thank you, Tammy. We're actually drinking coffee.
I'm drinking coffee. I'm drinking a Cherry Coke Zero. And I still have some of that Coca-Cola Spice from, I think, 4 weeks ago now.
Yeah, that's a month old. You're not drinking that.
I mean, it's there.
Yeah, maybe you should take care of that.
Maybe that's why I'm sick.
Maybe.
Yes, thank you, Tammy. Thank you for buying us our coffees this week. I am in amongst all of that, drinking a coffee. You still have your kombucha there, don't you?
It's just an empty bottle.
It's just an
There's
empty bottle
nothing
sitting
left
there.
in there.
The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes, but if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month, you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And remember, you can always support the podcast for free. Get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Our first storyline.
We can do this. We can do this.
We've picked a tough week to be sick,
Well,
I feel.
we didn't really pick to be sick.
I'm wondering if my thoughts on some of the major events jive with your thoughts, and I expect that they won't, but let's find out. Our first storyline is Reality Coding Bites.
Very nice.
That's the third week I've used that title.
Is it?
Yeah, it goes to show. It definitely goes to show how much attention you pay here. Oh.
I'm sorry. I am just a voice. Alone, flirting in infinity.
Oh. Well, don't let that happen again.
Okay.
On Monday, Leanne is skipping breakfast in favour of doing her daily journal for Rowan. Toyah pulls down her trousers and pants and shits all over this idea. And later, when Leanne is talking to Rowan over 56k dial-up, it seems, he sings the praises of doing the journal and suggests that she keeps her distance from Toyah, who is just a fucking downer man. This is harder than it sounds, says Leanne, although Toyah's behaviour in the other part of this story kind of helps.
It's funny that they do the whole, I'm journaling. Oh, I didn't know you kept a diary. It's not a diary. It's a journal. What's the difference? It's like Diary of a Wimpy Kid all over again. Kind of hilarious and slightly childish that they're having this argument.
An awful lot of what they were talking about was kind of childish, wasn't it?
Yes. Also, that's a big, massive journal she's writing in. Thing's huge. It covers her whole lap.
She's
Shouldn't
got
she have,
massive handwriting. She writes like a child. Sam is a good wee boy and has agreed to take Freddy for a walk to save Evelyn and Nina sometime. When he picks Freddy up, there's an armchair sleuth sitting in the corner of Nina's rolls observing everything. Sam heads off to Retcon Park, but he comes back in a rush to let everyone know that he let Freddy off the leash, and now Freddy's gone missing. I'm not sure Sam should be letting Freddy off the leash.
No.
He was very careful to say that he's done this before.
Right.
I don't think that makes either
No.
event good.
No.
Nina and Nick go looking, roping Toyah in for good measure, who seems a little edgy about the mention of Retcon Park.
Yes.
Nina also gets Asha to help, which reinforces their healed relationship a little bit. Toyah goes to the park and finds a spot with a yellow rose that makes her a bit weepy, and then she's outraged when some armchair sleuths turn up and start digging up the area. This is where they saw Freddy digging, and where they think racist Kelly is buried. Toyah loses a shit, snatches a spade, and pans in the windows of the car, and all of this they catch on video. For a second, Toyah shows remorse, but she's about to get stuck in again when Nick appears out of nowhere, says whoa an awful lot, and drags Toyah home. Back home, Toyah takes it out on Sam for being a twat and losing Freddy in the first place and makes him cry. "How dare you," says Nick, and he demands to know what's going on. But before she can say anything, the cops arrive and whisk Toyah away. For some reason, it's only Craig.
Oh, and another guy who doesn't say anything.
Yeah. Back at Nina's Rolls, there's still no sign of Freddy, but Nina finds a video online that he's been dognapped and held for ransom until Roy confesses, which is just about the stupidest shit I've ever heard.
Yes.
Because if he confesses, he doesn't get to see his dog again.
Right.
So what's the point of that?
Right, yes. The dog is returned safe or something. And I'm kind of shocked that 2 and 2 are not put together when everybody confers that it is definitely those 3 people who say we saw his dog sniffing around here and so we're going to dig up the area are the 3 people who kidnapped the dog.
Yeah. In the police interview room, Toyah has a total attitude with Craig and reckons the people doing the digging are the true villains.
Well, in fairness, it's Craig.
Joel asks for a quick minute and explains to her that maybe not being a total arsehole is a decent plan here. Because of this, the cops plan to do fuck all about the stolen dog. Toyah apologises, and Craig lets her off with a warning so long as she pays for the repairs. Done. Back home, and Leanne and Simon and Nick are taking turns shouting at Toyah. She apologises and blames the creeps messing with Roy and then storms out. Nick seems to be the only one who thinks something bigger and more stupid is going on here and advises keeping an eye on Toyah. In the shop, Addie and Asha are discussing how stupid these armchair sleuths are. Addie reckoning if Roy was to confess, he still doesn't get his dog. And this seems to spark a thought in Asha, who responds to the video online asking them to get in touch as she has some dirt on Roy.
Yes.
Toyah goes to the flower shop in the meantime and buys a single rose for £4.50, which I thought was actually quite cheap.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are thinking that's way too expensive
That's
for a
not
single
way
rose.
too expensive. That's about right.
She sees an inquisitive Joel as she leaves and tells him the flower is to say sorry to Leanne, but it's not for Leanne.
No.
She takes it to Retcon Park and leaves it where she smashed that car to fuck earlier.
Yes. In memory of the car.
Right. Memory to the window of the car.
Yes.
We barely knew thee.
Yes.
On Wednesday, everyone is still in the mood with Toyah, except Sam, who has gotten over being yelled at yesterday. Nick, privately, is at least somewhat supportive. In Nina's Rolls later, Joel bumps into Leanne and asks how she liked her yellow rose. Leanne has no fucking clue who Joel is, or what he's talking about. So Leanne approaches Toyah about this, but she claims that she dropped it and then just threw it away. Leanne is still
Because
confused.
somebody stepped on it when she dropped it.
Right,
Yeah.
which people do, right? People step on flowers all the time.
Yes.
Leanne is still confused why Toyah cares so much about a stupid area in the park, and this gets Toyah all het up again. Leanne is so stressed she has to take a break to upload to Rowan.
Yeah, that's a sentence that you just said.
Yeah, I definitely said that.
You did.
Nick goes home and finds Toyah sitting on the floor in tears. Nick asks what's wrong with her, and she just blurts it out.
She does.
Toyah says that she buried her baby in North Cross Park. Nick seems to take this in his stride as she explains that she never knew that she was pregnant. She thought it was a dodgy pie she'd been eating, but instead she gave birth to a dead baby girl on her bedroom floor. She talks about trying to slap her awake like she saw in the movies, but it was not to be, and she took her to be buried in the park the next day, where one single yellow rose grew. All those years, and she didn't tell a soul, or look like she was thinking about it. No one was looking for anything in her, so no one saw anything. She eventually told a doctor who said there was nothing in the stillbirth that led to her inability to conceive, but it's difficult not to treat it as karma. But she did love her little Rosie, she says. Nick is worried that he can't keep this to himself, but she reminds him that it's not his story to tell. And then Simon bursts in with news that a body has been found in North Cross Park. Toyah resolves that she needs to speak to the police about all of this, and she's going to have a hell of a job in her hands explaining why she never said nothing to nobody for the best part of a quarter of a century. Nick takes a call from Simon, and whatever he finds out, he urgently needs to call Toyah, but can't get a hold of her. He rushes to the cop shop to tell her that no body has been found, no one is even looking, but now Toyah feels like she needs to confess.
Yeah.
Rosie deserves so much better.
Well, it's Rose.
And so do we.
And it's weird because initially she says, I never gave her a name. She doesn't have a name. And then starts calling her Rose because of the roses that she planted the baby by.
Oh, I saw that connection. Yes.
Yes.
As
So
subtle as it was.
There's this really emotional thing where she feels bad that she never gave this baby a name, and then just casually starts calling her Rose.
And then we see yellow roses everywhere.
Everywhere.
So they get back from the police station, and it turns out that she didn't confess anything at all. Nick thinks it was the right choice. Now we can pretend none of this ever happened, because it didn't. But Leanne walks in and catches half the conversation, so Toyah has to fill her in.
But not like that.
We don't really see that conversation, but we see the aftermath where Leanne wonders why she never mentioned anything after Oliver. Yeah, good point, Leanne. Leanne apologises for being a cow, and the two sisters agree to go at the park to see the patch where Toyah buried her dead, premature baby. It's nice to go on location. Leanne leaves one of Oliver's teddies behind, which was a nice touch, I suppose.
Yeah, unfortunately, it'll probably make those sleuths think even more that there's a dead Lauren there.
Oh, we've forgotten all about them now.
Have we? Because
yeah.
we're going to see them later on.
Back home later, Leanne is in a mood with Nick for keeping secrets from her. He says it wasn't his story, but their argument is interrupted by a call from Rowan, wondering where the fuck Leanne's upload has got to.
Fuck you, Leanne.
Nick knew for about 20 minutes.
Right, yeah. Yeah, she's mad because he quickly says nothing, and then Toyah decides to tell her. And he's right. It's not his story to tell. So of course he was going to say, "Oh, nothing," because it's not his story to tell. Leanne is so ridiculous in this storyline, and it gets worse. It gets so much worse.
He found out earlier that day. It's
Right.
not as if he's been hoarding this for weeks and months. And as he rightly points out, well, you kept the secret about Simon.
Right.
Again, for a similar length of time, I guess. Maybe a little bit longer. So, yeah, fuck off, Leanne. You're being completely unreasonable here.
Absolutely.
Later, privately, Toyah apologises for causing this bother between Nick and Leanne, but Nick dismisses it. He tells her he's proud of her, and she's dead appreciative. And now it very much looks like Nick and Toyah are going to bang.
Yes. There's a very long, extended hug.
So, this has been a storyline that we've known has been on the cards. I didn't realise it was going to happen as quickly as this.
Uh-huh.
So this has obviously been done months ago, but it kind of got leaked maybe a month or so ago.
Right, yeah, the show leaked it.
And everyone was fucking furious about it.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense.
Now, does it not make sense to you, or does it make sense to you, or do you not really care? Well, I know you don't really care, but pretend that you do care.
I am just a robot. I cannot care like a human.
What is this emotion you call love?
Well, that was quite good.
That was quite good. Okay, so obviously I didn't watch the show during the time frame where Toyah was raped by this guy.
Precisely my angle on this, yes.
Right, yes. So I do not have that foreknowledge to make me angry about the storyline. We have quite recently, in the past few years, had another storyline where a woman, an adult woman who had given birth at least twice already, gave birth in the woods and didn't know she was pregnant. And that angered me. And so to have very quickly another woman say, "Oh, I gave birth and I didn't even know I was pregnant," is annoying. It's slightly more believable for Toyah, who was a teenager at the time and had never been pregnant before.
Correct.
However, giving birth is very messy and smelly. And
oh, is it smelly?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know why that disappoints me.
Yeah, it's very it's bodily fluids all over the place.
Do you know when you put it like that?
And like the afterbirth and everything. There's no way in hell she could have cleaned all of that up herself to the point where nobody would notice in a toty house that she was living with
her parents.
Her parents
wouldn't have noticed.
They would notice the smell. They would notice the big massive stain on her carpet. They would notice. Where did she hide the afterbirth? Where was she? Did she sleep with the afterbirth as well as the baby? Did she sneak to the bathroom to clean the baby up before she slept with the baby that night?
Did she bite through the umbilical cord?
Right. Yeah. There's all these aspects of giving birth that the show is kind of skating over here. It's making it very unbelievable. At least if she gave birth in the bathroom, the toilet's right there, and it's easier to clean tile than it is to clean carpet, sort of thing. And you can explain smells in a bathroom because it's a bathroom.
You can explain smells.
In a bathroom.
You can.
So there's all of that. And there's just the whole, this... You would think if this was a thing that happened, it would have come up the many times the fact that Toyah cannot give birth, cannot get pregnant, has come up in the past few years. When she stole that baby, for example, when we first started doing the podcast.
She didn't steal it.
Well, she kind of stole it. She bought it.
There you go.
But,
it's kind of the opposite of stealing, really.
Right. Yeah.
Little Susie.
Right. Yeah.
With Peter.
Right. Yeah. But she lied to Peter about where the baby came from.
She did.
Yes. And also human trafficking. Buying babies is not okay.
I'm just learning things left and right today.
As we learned from the recent pitch meeting for the Boss Baby.
Oh, yes.
Where?
It wasn't a great one.
Yeah. But he just had a baby with his wife, so
and that's been eating chocolate. I thought that was quite funny.
Anyway, or when, she was trying to adopt a little smiley girl or Kelly sort of thing. You'd think that if she was going to confess this to anyone, it would have been Imran. Sort of thing. If this was a real thing that happened.
Yeah. I just want to preface my thoughts on this by saying I thought Georgia Taylor did her absolute damnedest to sell this to us.
Yes, and she's brilliant, and we love her very much.
The range of emotion that she went through, where she was laughing at times and she was upset at times. Mm-hmm. It was very, very believable and very affecting.
Very good. Yes.
It was a really sad story that she was telling.
Yes.
I just wish I believed a word of it.
Right. Yes.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I watched the show back then.
Yeah.
And I watched the show on ITV3 on Classic Corrie, where this storyline played out again just 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So this is really fresh in the memories of viewers, still fresh in the memories of storyliners as well,
yes.
I would suggest.
One would imagine.
Where this has been kind of just plucked out of nowhere. And this is different from other examples of retcon where Jackie Dobbs isn't Tyrone's mum.
Right.
Well, the show never showed us Jackie Dobbs giving birth to Tyrone.
Right.
We saw the two of them when Tyrone was like a young teenager.
Right.
So it's plausible. It's maybe not very possible or probable, but it's plausible
right.
that Jackie Dobbs isn't
right.
Tyrone's mum.
Yes.
And plus it gives us Maureen Lipman as Evelyn.
Right.
And we're grateful for that.
Yeah. And I have to say, because I've seen like clips from that time and she doesn't look pregnant. And people are like, look, she didn't look pregnant. Abby didn't look pregnant either before she gave birth to Alfie in the woods.
Right. She didn't look...
Which kind of angered us, which was like, this is ridiculous. This feels like it's being done for shock value and nothing else by, pretending that this woman wouldn't be showing any sort of signs of being pregnant and then give birth to like a full-fledged baby.
I don't need to see a teenage Toyah looking like a textbook 6-month pregnant woman. I don't need to see that to believe it. I can believe that she's a very slight girl who maybe just didn't show and
Right.
and wouldn't have shown until like a month or whatever later.
Yeah.
But where I find it difficult to get on board with this is the other things that were going on in the show at the time, and Toyah's reaction to other things in the show, and her piecing back her life and arguing with Les, and Janice was going through a spell where she was having an affair behind Les's back and all
Right.
that stuff. So Toyah was on screen plenty
Yeah.
during that time, during the time when she supposedly gave birth in her bedroom.
Right.
And her mood is fairly light and smiley, and it kind of makes, if what has happened, it kind of makes that look like she's a bit psychotic, because
Well,
she's had this hugely traumatic event that she's been able to just compartmentalize and ignore. But that, along with the kind of core of Toyah's character, is her desire to have a baby.
Right. Yes. And
Once you bring that and all the other kind of little bits of evidence or
Right.
lack of evidence, once you bring all that in, on top of the fact that Toyah is nothing apart from a woman who really, really wants to be a mum,
right.
that's where it really falls to pieces for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of takes away from that, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel like it kind of takes away from the fact that Toyah's main personality trait, apart from being kind of hippy-dippy and a counselor, is that she desperately wants to be a mother and can't conceive.
Yep.
This is a core part of the character as we know her.
Toyah isn't Toyah without that.
Right. And to say, well, when she was 16 or however old she was raped. And so she was raped and then she was like chipper and fine.
No, she was horribly affected by it, as you would imagine.
Right. Yeah. So
It was horrific to watch.
right.
The aftermath of it, where she got her strength from, when she got her justice, and where she confronted the rapist and stuff.
Right.
From then, she started to piece her life back together again. But no, she was hugely affected by it for quite some time.
Right. But just not 9 months.
Or 6 months.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It feels like it takes away from that core trait of hers, and it kind of diminishes it to say, well, she was able to do it this one time. And then, and the show is very, very quick to cover its ass and say that she went to a doctor who said that the two things are not related, because if they tried to relate these things, I think people would be even more outraged than they already are.
Yeah.
There's
also, and I haven't seen evidence of this myself, but I think I have a memory of it, where this is at least partially true. In the immediate aftermath of the rape, she was tested for HIV.
right.
And she was also given a morning after pill.
Right.
So we're to believe that the morning after pill didn't work then.
Right. Yes.
I can't remember specifically if that happened. A lot of people have been mentioning it. I haven't seen that scene.
I have seen that the hospital told her mom that she needed to take a morning after pill just to cover all her bases.
Right.
I don't think we actually see her take the morning after pill.
I think it's at least referred to, but
Right.
like I said, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But if that's the case, then we're asking to suspend our disbelief even more here.
Right. Yeah. That not only this woman who we know canonically cannot get pregnant, this one time in a traumatic experience did get pregnant and took the morning after pill and still came nearly to term with a baby, granted a stillborn baby,
Right.
but a baby, it does not add up. But that has nothing to do with Georgia's acting, because because she was phenomenal in those scenes.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, I think Ben Price was pretty good in those scenes as well.
I would have liked him to be a bit more shocked than he was. He seemed very laissez-faire about it.
Well, I kind of feel like he's trying very hard not to look shocked because he's trying to be supportive of her. So I think there's some masking going on there. You know, like if he had acted shocked, she would have clammed up. Sort of thing.
I think the man's allowed to be shocked by this, I think.
Yeah.
It's shocking. She knows it's shocking.
Right.
And there's also part of me that wonders what the point of this was, because last week...
Oh, that baby's getting dug up. That baby's getting dug up. That's the point. That's going to happen.
And then what?
You can't have a dead baby in a park and not have it dug up.
It's like been there for a quarter of a century. I'm not sure how much of it's going to be left.
Well, there'll be a skeleton at least, one would imagine.
Oh, we'll see. Let's move on to Friday now. The vibe is a bit weird between Toyah and Nick and Leanne after yesterday's pish that we wish hadn't happened. Toyah intends to go to work, but Leanne advises her to call Canny and take it easy. Leanne is still furious with Nick for keeping Toyah secret for 8 minutes, and only cheers up when Rowan shows up at the bistro. He thought she was upset and he had to come and see her. He wants an uploading session with Leanne right
but not
here
like that.
and right now, and might end up downloading all over her tits if he plays his cards right.
And then tattooing his name on her vagina.
Later, Toyah comes in to find Nick running around like a blue ash flea because he's run off his feet at the bistro because Leanne is off with this Rowan guy, and it's Toyah to the rescue. At home, Leanne is struggling to upload. Happens to the best of us. Rowan relaxes her, gives her some of his new age bullshit, and next we know, Leanne is uploading like a pro. She thinks Oliver died because she's been punished for all the shite she did in her life, and she has a particularly moving monologue talking about her clients when she was a sex worker, and their hands and their tongues and their smells and how awful it all felt. She's held on to that for the longest time, but now she feels lighter. What an upload, says Rowan. He thinks she's ready for the next stage just as soon as he's thought up what that is. She nips off for a shite, and then we see that Rowan has actually recorded the conversation on his phone. What a prick. When Leanne gets back to work, the place is much quieter. Nick is quietly fuming and says Toyah helped out. He asks about her uploading, but clearly doesn't care. She tells him it was difficult, but she feels freer now. No more negativity, she says, which means she's forgiven him for doing nothing. Back home, she's similarly elated when she speaks to Toyah and tries to get her signed up for the uploading shite. Toyah isn't interested and instead tries to talk about her day, but as soon as she mentions the park, Leanne can't deal with her trauma or her pain, says that she needs to think of herself, and basically just walks away from her sister and starts to make dinner.
What a bitch!
And that's as far as we get with that this week. Again, a great scene, this time from Jane Danson, talking about her trauma.
Right. But it's marred because it's all part of this cult storyline.
Right.
And it makes her a bitch to everybody, only in a different way now.
Yep.
Instead of getting angry and biting everyone's heads off, now she just says, oh, I can't be bothered. Goodbye.
I have to think of myself.
Right. Yes. Her hair looks great in that scene, though. I don't know if you noticed, but her hair looks really gorgeous and really full.
If it's not Toyah's hair from 2002, I ain't interested.
Toyah's hair also looks great, but I was
it
like,
doesn't look 2002 great. I'm sorry, it just doesn't.
But, you know, I just noticed that Leanne's hair looked different, you know, and it was like kind of up and kind of wavy.
Would you use the word zhuzh?
A little zhuzhed, yes.
Maybe I did notice. Yeah, this is just so frustrating now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrible, especially since Leanne was so loving and sensitive towards Toyah just the day before.
This is a story that she is angry at Nick at for not telling her about.
Right, but she's not angry anymore.
And now when Toyah wants to talk to her about it, she's not interested.
No, she's got to protect herself before she wrecks herself.
And this isn't Leanne.
No.
Leanne is there for her sister no matter
Yes,
what.
absolutely, both of them. Two peas.
Nick just doesn't give a fuck about this anymore.
No.
It's never a good sign when a character says to another character, I'm not ready to marry you.
Right.
When you think about it, the writing's kind of on the wall at that point,
Right.
isn't it?
And then she joins a cult and it makes it so much worse.
Yeah, so he's like,
It's
maybe I'll have a wee go on the sister and see how that works out.
right, yeah. And it's form. It's form. They both had Peter. So
Right.
they can both have Nick.
I really don't want another affair storyline.
It's a soap opera. We need affairs. And there aren't enough affair storylines in this show.
It feels like there's too many.
There's none. There's none anymore because
Adam,
Tracy left. So now there's no. We need a new one.
Adam and Sarah and Damon still feels fairly fresh.
Was that really? I mean, it was kind of an affair.
Yeah, of course it was an affair.
Yeah, but no, it's a soap opera. This is what soap operas are supposed to do, not floating guns and putting Roy Cropper in prison. It's supposed to be about affairs and smooching and sexy time. That's what soap operas are supposed to be, with the occasional alien and chimpanzee thrown in for good luck. Or am I just thinking of American soap operas?
I've no fucking idea what you're thinking of. I think we should move on. We've been talking about this storyline for what feels like about an hour. Our next storyline is Amy's Calling. On Monday, the show has remembered that Asha's training to be a paramedic and has been coming on leaps and bounds recently.
Bravo, show, for remembering this.
This makes Amy jelly that Asha has found her passion, but she hasn't found hers yet. Asha suggests a student radio gig. And in devs later, Addie thinks it's a great idea too, and has a wonderful and thinks that she's got a wonderful voice, and suggests making it a talk show rather than a music show. Amy has found her passion thanks to Asha and Addie telling her what it is. It looks like Addie and Amy are getting quite close, but then the moment passes, and later Amy has an interview lined up for her demo tape with Donna, the owner of a women's charity, and is grateful to Addie for believing in her, and they share another moment, which also passes.
Yes.
So on Wednesday, it's bad news early doors because Donna has to call to pull out because of legal issues. She has a family in crisis and can't find a lawyer, which leaves Amy without a guest and interviewee. So Amy turns her attentions on Addie. He agrees and tries to find a lawyer for Donna, and Joel, who comes into the shop for some Pop-Tarts or whatever, is guilted into agreeing by Alia. So later, Addie is doing an interview about how he's not a great ally to women, but how there's lots of learning and unlearning for people his age to do. He wants to be more than an ally, he wants to be an accomplice, he says. Amy presses him like she's accusing him of something, so Addie tells the story of how he stood up for Amy when that guy raped her, although he's careful not to use her name. Amy didn't know that this had happened, so Addie explains that the confrontation that he had with Aaron about this. And Addie says, everyone needs people in their corner sometimes.
Right, while hilariously ignoring desperate phone calls from his sister.
Yes. In the pub later, Addie is talking about how much he loves Bubbles. Amy humours him, and they're about to have a heart-to-heart when Asha appears from another storyline, furious that Addie let her down. He explains that he was busy talking about helping women except Asha. When Joel comes in, he confirms that he's taken Donna's case, or so it seemed.
Right, yeah, no, he's cut this. Now this.
He was shifty here.
This is sus behavior by our man Joel. Because, you know, when Addie first mentions it to him, you know, not only does he seem to not want to take it, he doesn't want Dee Dee to take it either. He's like, oh, she does far too much pro bono stuff, and she's like buried in this whole Roy stuff. But then in the pub, you know, it's basically just because Addie mentions it in front of Dee Dee that he kind of begrudgingly says, yes, I will do it. And that's really sus to me.
On Friday, Amy has got the job at the radio station. Well, that was quick, thanks to her combative interview with Addie. But now she's worried about who she'll line up for future interviews. Paul has his personal assistant in the flat and is keeping her well entertained with his tall tales about how he lost his tablet and how Brian got it back. Yeah, that is a good story.
It is a good story.
Bernie reckons Amy would lap all this stuff up for a radio show. So they all meet in the pub later.
Right, because Bernie knows about the radio show because Amy told her, and then there was an awkward moment where Amy kind of agreed with Bernie that Bernie was too old to be on her show.
Oh, boo.
Yes. Yes.
Bernie would be a great guest.
She would be a great guest. She's got stories galore.
Paul doesn't think that he has a voice for radio. Bernie reckons he has a face for it, though. Amy tries to work in a M&D angle, and while Paul is up for it, Bernie disapproves. This is all about funny stories, she says, but this looks like it's going to happen with or without her approval, and that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yes.
I did think it was funny that Amy is missing her passion.
Right.
2 other people tell her what they think her passion should be, and she goes, yeah, that'll do.
Right. Or they suggest something that she should try. You know, they're not saying, oh, this is definitely your passion. They say, hey, you should try this because this is a thing that they're looking for people for. And she says, okay.
What, you mean Amy working on that rape hotline isn't your passion?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Have they forgotten that she does this? Have they forgotten that she started this whole support group thing?
She was adamant she was going to do it. Everyone thought she shouldn't.
And then
she was
she
like,
did.
fuck y'all, I'm doing this.
And then she did, yeah, and it was great. What happened? And isn't that how she knows this woman that initially she was going to interview?
I feel like we should know Donna.
Yeah, have we met her briefly
I'm not sure.
at some point when...
But I feel like the name keeps on getting dropped. Like
it's somebody we should know.
I did think that Addy was he going through the motions a little bit, saying things that he thinks that Amy wanted to hear. He's genuinely a nice person.
No, I think he was genuine. I've seen a lot of, people online calling him like a soft boy, and it was cringe and all this other bullshit about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely soft to not want your female friends to be raped.
Right, yes. And to tell rapists that they're rapists. Mm-hmm. Yes. That's so cringe.
That's such a Gen Z thing to do, isn't it?
Ugh. But...
Go woke, go broke.
Are we done mocking the incels?
Yes, I think so. For now.
For now. Okay. So not fair of us, because we can have sex wherever we want.
Right now.
Yeah, right
now.
now.
I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but...
Later. Maybe. But he did feel genuine, and it also kind of felt like he wasn't planning on saying some of the stuff that he said, that it was Amy pushing him to give an example that makes him give that particular example. And I think it's very good that he's very careful to not be specific in the interview.
Yes, I thought so too. All right, let's move on to our next storyline, which is Shifty Joel. On Monday, Shifty Joel is nervous about something. He claims it's about seeing his kid, but Dee Dee insists that he'll be fine, and he was made to be a fantastic dad, and she has nothing whatsoever to prove this. And Nina Rose later, Joel sees Michael and promises that he's not going to lie to Dee Dee again. Michael invites Joel to suck on his balls and then leaves him to it. He is not a fan.
No.
Joel's meeting, though, with his kid went well, and Joel is dead grateful to Dee Dee. She's also grateful to him for helping out with all the death threat stuff. He leans in for a kiss, and she's like, hey, settle down, soldier. And Joel hurries off just as Alia comes in. She doesn't work there anymore, but wants to go through their files for one of the clients that she stole. And Dee Dee is...
She got the phone number wrong.
And Dee Dee is super cool about this. Alia misses working with Dee Dee, and they start chatting about Joel. Dee Dee admits to still having feelings for him, but still has trust issues still. Alia says it was just a wee lie, and he probably still has feelings for her, which is like the worst advice ever.
Absolutely.
Later, Dee Dee and Joel meet up and decide to give their stupid relationship another go. Good job, Alia. And the first thing to do is go to see Michael and the Rovers to rub his face in it. Michael warns Joel not to fuck his sister around anymore, or he'll have Uncle Ronnie to answer to.
Yeah, I love that.
Damn right.
I love that. I
can't
Mike,
beat you up.
but Uncle Ronnie can.
But my old uncle can.
Well, Uncle
With those
Ronnie.
arms?
Uncle Ronnie has those Ernie Hudson arms.
Yes, he does.
Wow.
boom, 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 boom. That's Ronnie in the mirror every day. Boom, 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 boom. I bet you can make his boobs.
You think he could
Jiggle.
his pecs like The Rock?
Like The Rock,
and
yep.
John Cena? Mm. I think it's more fun when The Rock does it because of the tattoos.
I think The Rock can do it quicker as well. It gets quite a little bit of speed going there.
Yeah.
Although I haven't seen John Cena do that. I haven't spent a lot of time studying it right enough.
Right, yes.
So, yeah. Joel.
I like I said, I admit that the whole taking the pro bono job feels shifty and off, his reaction to it. Because, I mean, it's not like he makes... Because isn't he like a public defender sort of person? Or does everybody take a turn doing that?
It's impossible to tell what his role is because he's never in his office.
No.
He's always in Adam's office.
Or at the police station. Or in the courthouse.
Or the calf. So
they
he's
haven't
always
built
kinda,
him an office. Come on, the show doesn't have that kind of money.
Of course they're not. But he still kind of just hangs around like a bad smell on the street. Like he doesn't have another place to go. When he joined, I thought there was something up.
Yeah, you did.
And I was right. The thing that was up, though,
right,
was kind of dull. He was married and he had a kid,
right,
and he was a cheating shit.
And he'd never seen his kid before.
And that never felt like that was the full story to me. And this is just a feeling that it's definitely expanded into more of a distrust against him, I think. You're still not...
I'm still not...
Still on the fence.
Yeah. I will agree about that one thing being shifty. I don't think he's necessarily involved in the whole Lauren thing, which a lot of people think that he is.
No, I kind of thought that, but you put me off by pointing out that his current girlfriend and previous wife were both black, so maybe he wasn't interested in a tiny white racist
blonde girl.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on then to Where There's a Will. On Monday, at Eileen's, Glenda is doing her laundry in a teeny washing machine.
It's so toty.
While George gets his breakfast from a teeny fridge.
So toty.
He's planning on updating his will today and would like Eileen to be his power of attorney, which puts Glenda's nose out of joint. Todd comes in as George and Glenda leave and gets a ghost from Eileen which starts his brain a-whirring. So despite it being Todd's day off, he goes in to get some filing done and comes prepared with Jaffa cakes for George. He's just trying to ingratiate himself here. Eileen is very suspicious at Todd's generosity, and her suspicions are further piqued when he turns up with a bottle of George's favourite whiskey, rye whiskey. Want to know where George is. Turns out he's in the pub. Eileen knows Todd is looking for a mensch in George's will. In the Rovers, George is making amends with Glenda about the power of attorney thing when Todd comes in and offers to buy George a drink. So George orders expensive double whiskies all round and gets him to buy Glenda's too. And it's hilarious because Eileen has already tipped him off.
Right.
And George tells him that he thinks of Todd like a son and promises to take that into account when he goes on to make his new will. On Wednesday, in The Undertaker's, George is filing his new will away. Todd steals it, takes it back home to steam it open.
Yep.
And reads that he's getting the business, which is fucking marvellous.
Yeah.
What's Todd doing here?
He's being Todd. This is absolutely a thing Todd would do. We forget this side of Todd. But let's remember, this is the guy that paid a kid to lie about Paul so that he could swoop in and get his hole with Billy.
Yes.
This is that guy. He's reformed, but only so much. There's still a side to him that would steam open a will to make sure that he's in it.
I think there's a chance that if this storyline didn't play out how it did this week, this would be a horrendous thing for Todd to do. And as it turns out, it's kind of it's almost forgotten about before it even really happened.
Right.
Nobody cares that he's done this.
Well, nobody
And
knows.
he gets away with it.
Nobody knows except Eileen. George never finds out.
No. So Eileen catches him, is furious, and thinks George would change his mind if he found out about this. When he goes to return the will, he's shocked when he discovers Archie's will is in the filing cabinet too, and he reads that and sees that the Undertaker's was actually left to George and Glenda. Later at home, Eileen can sense that Todd knows something, so he shows her the old will.
Now there's a smudge on the old will
Yeah.
that doesn't that obliterates the date.
Yeah,
That's very important.
I was about to say that.
Yes.
So, yeah, so the date's blurred. It's impossible to tell if this is Archie's last will, and this would mean the Undertaker's wouldn't go to Todd if half of it was Glenda's. And this is all delayed when Eileen gets a call from Jason, who lets Eileen know that he's broken his face or something.
His
so
back.
Eileen is rushing off to Thailand tomorrow.
Yes.
Todd is happy at the thought of her leaving, but she insists he tells George or Glenda, or she will.
Yes.
On Friday, Eileen is packing tea bags ready for her trip to, check notes, Thailand. She's true to her word though, and when Todd looks unlikely to do so, she tells George about the will. Todd's a little cagey with the truth and says that he found the will down the back of the cabinet. George is confused but reckons that his dad didn't have a chance to file the new will before he croaked it, but we'll never know because of the date. But all this has to wait as Eileen leaves to catch the next tram to Bangkok, where she's going to pretend to be a nun for a bit. George sees Glenda in the pub later and asks what she would do if she came into a big pile of money. She says that she would invest in little big shots and run it differently, but she's frustratingly vague about what her real plans would be, so George doesn't really know what to do.
Right, yeah, because somehow George feels like it's important to know what Glenda would do with the money before he gives her the money, which is fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently the owner of Little Big Shots is in deep debt.
Yeah, one wonders why.
Right. Because Glenda's doing gangbusters with hers, although we haven't really seen them
In months.
in months after that unfortunate Lizzo performance.
Oh no, remember, didn't Joseph get a solo?
In the Lizzo performance,
Was
wasn't
that
it?
the Lizzo? Lizzo? Was that the Lizzo one?
No, that was Ruby's.
Yeah. Joseph sang something festive, I think, didn't he?
Right, yes, closer to Christmas time. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he had to do it over so that Chesney could hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kid wasn't well. Let's just say that.
He had Lyme disease.
Yeah, god damn it. So,
A tick bit him in December.
so
Oh, God.
So all of this is just to throw some doubt over what Archie's real intentions were with
Right.
the Undertakers.
Yes. Yeah,
It's not
because
possible that this could all have been sorted out at the time by Archie speaking to Glenda. And it kind of assumes that Glenda would be interested in
well, remember
running half of it.
She was upset that she didn't that the Undertakers all went to George.
Was she?
She has
I don't remember
expressed-
that.
When she first started on the show, she expressed, being upset that her dad didn't leave her anything in the will, which is sus.
Oh, that is sus, yeah.
Let's be honest. It is sus that Archie left her nothing and left everything to George, and that George was okay with that is a little sus. I think at one point he did express that he felt guilty about it in passing, but I may be misremembering that.
I can see him being the traditional type,
Right. Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Yes. Well, and we see that kind of traditional type behavior in judging whether Glenda deserves half of the business by deciding himself if her plans, if she came into money, are worthy or not.
Yeah. Now, Todd has been working at the Undertakers for 4 years, maybe 3 years, 4 years,
Yeah, something like that.
and he thinks he should get it.
I think part of the aspect of this is the fact that George is stooping his mum.
Stooping?
Yes. I think that has something to do with it, that they are kind of a family unit. And the word marriage comes up.
Yeah.
And they both insist they don't want to get married, but they also both look at each other like maybe that's not a bad idea.
Eileen's been burnt in the past.
Yeah. No, and I get it. But we know George isn't a serial killer.
Not yet. Christ, if Toyah can have given birth 25 years ago, George can kill a few people.
And secretly buried a baby in the park and cleaned up her bedroom of all the piss and shit and afterbirth and stuff that comes with giving birth.
The beauty of childbirth.
Yeah. The smelliness of childbirth.
What was it that Bill Hicks said?
I don't know.
The miracle of childbirth, it's no more a miracle than you put food in your mouth and shit comes out your ass. It's a chemical reaction.
Well, it's a little bit more than that. Because your shit's not alive.
Sometimes it's difficult to tell. Todd's expectation after 3 or 4 years is arguably what Glenda's should have been after her whole life being related to this man.
Exactly.
Some little bits of privilege shown there, Todd.
Oh, just a wee bit.
Not a great look on you.
No. But
Oh, we'll let you off with it.
But at least it's believable for the character to be like this. Yeah. As opposed to other characters when they have shifts in their personalities that we say.
It's just been a while since we've seen this Todd.
Right.
So it surprised me that he was so brazen about it.
Shifty Todd.
All right, moving on. Our penultimate storyline is Steve's Demi Semi. On Friday, in Nina's Rolls, Steve has a new click on his dating site. Sorry, you were drinking coffee. It's Demi. Demi more. Demi less.
Well,
and Steve
isn't she single at the moment? It's possible.
Steve is quite smitten. Tim reckons it's an old bloke winding him up and will continue thinking so until Steve has been on a date. Steve asks Kev and Abby for date advice for some reason, but Tim grabs his phone and texts a date request and a quick dick pic to Demi. Hours later, and she still hasn't replied. Steve checks again, and now she's deleted her profile.
Yes.
Oops. Abby has a look at his profile picture and reckons that it needs to be updated because it's him looking fucking mental with a small fish in his hands. Maybe not the best look. She puts him onto the site that she apparently has heard of.
Maybe used before the whole Kev thing?
Although it's 16 quid a month, and Steve balks at the idea.
16 quid is a month is not bad. I think like some of the other ones are like $20, $30 a month sort of thing. I think eHarmony's up to like $30. Not that I've been on it, obviously.
There you go. Well, here's the thing, is that how does Abby know this?
She could have been on it when she was single. She was single for a chunk of time there.
So I reckon that...
Although how she could afford 16 quid for just looking at dudes.
When she wants all the muck. Steve will go onto this new site and find Demi again.
No, I think it'll be somebody else.
I don't think you call a mysterious character Demi without the intention of introducing her at some point.
I think Tim is right. I think it was a dude.
It gave Tim and Steve some time together.
Right.
I appreciated that. His profile picture on this dating site is hilarious.
With the wee fishy.
And his just ridiculous expression.
Right. Look at this wee fishy I caught.
It was good stuff. All right, our final storyline is Where in the World is Racist Kelly? By that I mean Lauren.
Right, yeah. So we're going to go back to the dog story. Kidnapping story. Finally.
Yeah. On Wednesday, Asha has set up a trap for the dog nappers.
Yes.
Claiming to be a spurned lover of Roy's niece. Nina has no idea this is happening, and Addie is worried that this is going to backfire and insists that he joins her. And she's quite happy to accept. Meanwhile, Roy has called the cafe looking to speak to Nina to wish her a happy birthday. Happy birthday. But again, he's very quick to hang up. Nina's convinced that she'll let Roy down. Asha's in the precinct for a rendezvous, but Addie's busy in another storyline, so doesn't show up. Her connections meet with her, and she asks where Freddy is, but the sleuths need information first.
And they are 2 of the 3 people whose car Toyah banged up.
Yeah. Somehow, though, next we see Asha. She's brought Freddy back to the cafe.
Right. We don't find out how that happened.
No, like, did I fall asleep?
And they seemed very threatening to her.
The way that it was framed, she's sitting in the middle of them. She's tiny
Right.
compared to these two big guys that are sitting on either side
Right.
of her. She looked in real trouble.
Who, in fairness, I don't think were really big guys. It's just that Asha is tiny.
So, Toti, yeah.
Yes.
Turns out that she tipped off the police. Mm-hmm. How boring.
So the police showed up and, yeah.
Nina thinks Asha is a hero and looks like she might enjoy dining at the Y tonight. When Asha leaves, Evelyn reminds Nina that it's her birthday and encourages Nina to go after Asha because she sees something happening there too. Meanwhile, Roy is still refusing to eat and seems to be having hallucinations still.
Even at the Y.
Which may or may not be related. I don't know how much I wanted that image in my head.
Remember, there's also grandpa porn out there.
Oh. Oh, God. The lovely guard offers to bring food so Roy doesn't need to leave his cell, but it starts to look like the hallucination is actually a memory. Is that what Roy's seeing?
I don't think so. I think it's still a hallucination because Max shows up like in his mirror. It seems like scenes we've seen of Lauren in the cast.
That's what I think. It's not he's just seeing things. He's seeing things that have happened.
Right, but he's just seen Lauren in the calf. I don't think they mean anything.
Asha checks in on Nina and Freddy later, and she bought a present. It's a lovely, scary necklace. Necklace of the week.
Necklace of the week. What is the pendant? I couldn't tell
make
what it
out,
was.
and I wasn't interested enough to
It was
zoom
lumpy.
in. It was lumpy.
Yeah.
Asha, a lovely lumpy necklace.
Yes. Just the thing that Nina would love.
Say it with lumps. Asha,
My lovely lady lumps.
Asha puts it on Nina, and it looks like that meal is going to happen after all, but then Asha pulls away. Asha says that she'll always love Nina, but they're not meant for each other. So it looks like Nina's pillow will be getting it instead. On Friday, Roy's up in front of the judge again today with a chance of getting out. Everyone has everything crossed, even Daniel. Bernie, though, is a bit sceptical of Bobby in his statement. Meanwhile, Roy is getting ready and not eating breakfast, and his lovely personal guard
Makes a joke about leaving a review on Yelp.
Oh, yes, he does. In court, Dee Dee makes Roy's case based on Bobby's statement and makes a plea for Roy to be released on bail. The judge thinks about it but reckons Bobby's full of shite, so rejects the application. Take him down! Fair point, says Bobby. But Roy's crushed. Back in the cells, Dee Dee apologises, but Roy is more reflective now. Dee Dee thinks a reconstruction has been arranged and something positive may come from that, but Roy seems in a world of his own at this point. In the pub, Nina is despondent too, but Carla believes that the truth will out. Bobby is oddly quiet. The mood takes a dive when Dee Dee comes in to report on Roy's frame of mind in prison, and later Roy calls Carla and asks her to come visit whenever she gets a minute. He has a question for her about Bobby's statement. Bobby overhears this and shits himself a wee bit. Meanwhile, Nina clearly hates Daniel when she's had a couple of drinks in her.
Yes.
And gets stuck into him about being glad that Roy's pain is his gain. She basically accuses Daniel of killing racist Kelly.
Yeah.
And he runs off for a shite.
Yes.
In prison, Roy meets Carla and tells her that he reckons the evidence against him is compelling. He's been thinking about the last time he saw racist Kelly for any clue but has drawn a blank. But he had hope for today and now doubts Bobby and reckons he's a fucking liar and asks Carla for her honest opinion. Carla buckles and not only admits it, but claims responsibility for the idea, but Roy's not having that. So Carla finally just tells the full truth, saying that Bobby was only trying to help. Roy points out the obvious that this now means that the police are wasting their time looking in the wrong direction, and the real culprit may never be found unless he confesses what he knows to them.
Yeah, but in fairness to Bobby,
Phone!
they weren't looking anyway because they already have Roy. So at least Bobby's lie got them looking again and questioning again.
I suppose.
And who knows? Maybe the guy does look like a nondescript white man, tall white man in a baklava.
And a what?
In a balaclava.
There you go.
Can you imagine?
A baklava, that's a
Like
Polish bread, isn't it?
a Greek pastry.
Okay.
All over their face as a disguise.
With a hoodie, just to make doubly sure.
Right. I have a baklava face. It's like macaroon and macron and macaroni and Marconi.
You all right?
Yeah.
Okay. We're nearly done. We're nearly there.
We're nearly there. We've made it.
Carla
Sort of.
tries to talk him out of this, but he leaves and goes back to his cell to stare at his breakfast some more. Back at the flat, Carla's now angry with Bobby and how he's made everything worse, and warns him that Roy might well end up speaking to the police right now. If that happens, they're all fucked.
Yes.
And in his cell, that's exactly what Roy is doing.
He's got a direct line to
He
Swain.
just picked up the phone, didn't dial anything, so I think this is a hallucination as well. And that's how we end this week's episodes.
No
At
Swain.
least. Right. Oh, those birds are chirpy, chirpy, cheep, cheep.
Yeah.
Fuck off, birds.
It was kind of amazing this morning when I was up at like 4 o'clock in the morning having a cup of tea that it's completely silent. And then all of a sudden the birds start chirping as the sun slowly comes up. It's gorgeous.
That's morning.
It is morning. Has broken like the first morning. Anyway, despite like kind of big things happening, the whole Toyah thing, for example, and Freddy getting dognapped.
Yeah, that was huge.
It did kind of feel like not a filler week, but a week like last week that's kind of leading into something big in the future. It doesn't really feel like this has furthered the story at all.
Well, it has a little bit.
I think it is ridiculous that he's still being denied bail, considering there's no body.
Well, maybe he shouldn't have hit that stupid woman.
But he didn't. She didn't get hit. He like walked towards her because she insinuated that he murdered his wife, and she fell over the embankment.
She tripped over her feet.
Yeah. He didn't hit her. And there's no evidence in that video that he hit her. And they have Evelyn saying he didn't hit her. There's no evidence that he did that. And the only other thing that they have on him was an incident that happened with Gary years ago in which Gary was committing a home invasion.
Or a cafe invasion.
Well, Roy basically lives in the calf, let's be honest. So it feels ridiculous that they're still denying bail. They have really no reason, no concrete evidence to deny bail. So that feels ridiculous. It feels ridiculous that we had to sit through all of that only for him to be denied bail again. Doesn't it? It's like, why did we have this if he was just going to be denied bail again?
To get Bob in the shit. And Carla a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. It just...
And it also gave us that beautiful scene where Nina essentially attacks Daniel, which
was
was
glorious.
so funny.
It was so good.
And there's people that do that throughout the week. Like he comes into the cafe and with Bethany and Evelyn's talking about, because Bethany thinks, oh, you're joking, this has happened, and Evelyn's like, of course we're not joking, you fucking idiot.
Right.
And then starts to think that, says something and looks shiftily at Daniel, and she's
Right.
like, why are you staring at Daniel like that? Oh, I'm not staring like that at
Anything,
Daniel
right.
at all, that he maybe killed Racist Kelly.
Right.
So he's getting it tight everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Can't go into the cafe because everyone thinks he's a murderer. Probably can't go into the pub that much anymore because everyone thinks he's a murderer
And
there.
this is kind of the thing. Daniel has more form of being violent towards other people
Loves pushing people downstairs.
than Roy does. You know? Like actual violence recently. And then the whole summer stuff. Like there's more circumstantial evidence against Daniel than there is against Roy.
Yeah.
But people hate Daniel, so of course they're not going to put him in jail because that wouldn't get the viewership riled up as much as Roy has.
Let's be honest, that's exactly what this is about.
Right.
It's to get people angry and talking about it.
Right.
Get
And
people
then
who-
refusing to watch the show anymore because of it.
Yeah, I think that probably applies to a really small percentage, and I probably think
I don't
that
know.
more people are lured back to see, oh, Roy's in jail, what does that look like? I think it's probably going to... I don't think it's going to have a huge effect on overall viewing figures.
Well, yeah, which are already pretty low.
Yeah, the highest that ITV get.
It is very frustrating to watch. I'm glad that they got Freddy back very quickly and without any harm done to him. Because I already watched a dog get harmed in Fallout this week. So, I was glad to be able to watch one show where no dogs die.
There were so many bits that were just there to serve other parts of the plot.
Right.
Like the whole dog napping's there to serve the Toyah stuff. And we get a fleeting bit of Asha and Nina that's quickly skated over. So
Right.
no change there then.
No.
The status quo is maintained there.
And still, it doesn't feel like anybody's actually actively looking for Lauren. Although it does sound like the police are going to do like a recreation sort of
A
thing.
recreation of what? Racist Kelly being racist?
Of her, of seeing of studying the blood splatter. Which, if Sean's not living in that apartment, if he is
What's
living
the
in
point
the
of
other one.
recreating something that nobody saw?
Well, you can kind of recreate it by studying the blood splatter and how, and the angle of it, and trying to determine where an attack would have happened to create that blood splatter sort of thing, and how tall the person is who would be doing the attacking and stuff. There's like a lot of stuff that they can sort of
As in,
determine
utter bullshit.
from blood splatter.
A recreation is somebody went missing between point A and point B. So we'll have somebody who looks kind of like her or him walk between point A and point B to jog people's memory. That's what a reconstruction's for.
Well,
Fuck
no,
all
because
to do with blood splatter.
no, because
Fuck
why
all to
would
do with that.
because they're not going to bring like people in and say walk along the street and see if this jogs your memory.
That's exactly what that
No.
is. That's exactly
Are they
what
going
that
to
is.
call in every person who lives on the street to watch this person walk by?
They film it, they put it on the news, and that's the whole point of it.
No.
That is exactly what it is.
No, that's not what a recreation
It is.
No.
It absolutely is.
They're going to study the blood splatter.
No, that's not a recreation. Why would they recreate that?
Because
They're recreating it in the hope that somebody who knows something is going to come forward. Nobody knows anything about fucking blood splatter. Nobody's a blood splatter expert.
they have forensic people there.
Yeah, let them do that then. You
Right.
don't need to recreate anything that's right there.
No, but they have to recreate it in the lab to determine
That's not
the
what
link.
they're talking about when they're talking about recreations. Trust me on this.
Anyway, this argument is not going to help unless you include a picture of the curtain in the YouTube this week.
I will not be doing that, but I
No,
will be
of course
showing
not.
some Crime Watch recreations where this is the sort of thing that they're talking about.
Anyway, yeah, it feels like it's still frustratingly focusing on this thing, Roy in jail, which gets an emotional reaction from the viewership, as opposed to solving a whodunit, which was the thing that got us excited about the storyline in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still generally interested in it. It's
Right, but they're not giving us anything.
No, they
they're
haven't
not
been doing that for a while.
investigating. They're not searching for Lauren. It's like maybe you need to investigate further and see if you can find Lauren's body in order to prove Roy did it. Because all you have is circumstantial. The police should still be out there looking for her. And which is one of the reasons why I think, well, I know that baby's getting dug up. Because,
Yeah, you don't bury a baby without it getting dug up.
right, yes,
That's Chekhov's stillborn baby.
yes. Which lies next to his gun.
Oh, suicide, eh? It feels like it needs to start moving towards a conclusion now. I think they have. It's starting. I agree. I think it's starting to feel like it's getting drawn out a little bit unnecessarily here, just to maintain people's ire about it.
And adding more tangents, because this whole bullshit with Bobby and Carla is also just a distraction from the whodunit
Yes.
aspect of the show, of the storyline that we are not getting, which was the only thing that was really interesting us, was, oh, this person who we don't really care about has gone missing, and it's interesting that she's gone missing, and it's interesting to find out why she went missing and how she went missing. Because we didn't care about the mystery boyfriend until she went missing. And nobody seems to be talking about that either, because obviously the mystery boyfriend can't be Roy, because they all see Roy on a daily basis.
And the boyfriend did exist. The boyfriend was a thing.
Right. That nobody saw and nobody met.
It is a month ago since the surprisingly well-attended vigil for Check's Notes, that racist wee lassie who worked in the cafe for a bit.
Yeah.
So that happened a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's become all about Roy and justice for Roy, and Roy Cropper is innocent, et cetera, as opposed to what actually happened to Lauren.
Yeah. She's just going to show up.
She is. She's just going to show back up. And people are going to have to say, oh, sorry, Roy. Sorry we called you a murderer.
But what happens when she just shows back up again? What's the fallout from that?
Right. Yeah, like, how dare you let this innocent man go to jail? You must have known. You must have been watching the television. It was all over the internet.
Unless she is dead. I mean, I've worked on the assumption that she's not.
Yeah, I don't think she's
all
dead.
the way through.
You know. Anyway, hopefully there's some movement next week. But not like that.
Get some Imodium. Oh no, that does the opposite.
Yes.
Ducalax. No shit, Sherlock. Anyway, that was the week that was Coronation Street.
Yes.
Helen, tell me, what was your moment of the week?
You know what? It's Toyah recounting the ridiculous story of her stillborn baby to Nick. Because despite the fact that we don't find this story believable for different reasons, which I find very interesting.
Yes.
Georgia Taylor acted the shit out of it.
She did.
She was fantastic. And even Ben Price was pretty good.
I appreciated the effort that both of them put into this bullshit story.
Yes.
It's more than it deserves.
Right. And the fact that both of them know it's bullshit and we're still able to act the shit out of it. I think that's
acting.
Skill. That's acting
right there, isn't it?
Give them the Emmy.
Did you see that Neighbours has been nominated for a daytime Emmy?
No.
Yeah.
Good for them.
That's what I thought.
Good
Anyway,
for them.
Toyah recounting her bullshit story to Nick is our
Moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
your boring moment of the week.
Bethany asking Evelyn why she's looking at Daniel that way when she's not even looking at Daniel in that moment.
Oh, she was. She
But not
was
really.
looking down her nose at him. She was. It was
Right, but
great.
she looks down her nose at everybody.
She does.
You don't think that's it?
Nah.
Abby knowing about a dating site?
Glenda whispering something rude about Dev to Ken.
No, that was funny. That was funny. Because of course it's about Dev. Of course it's about Dev. But Ken almost spilling whatever the secret is to Amy when Amy is talking about how supportive Addie is.
Here we are. Amy can't work her audio editing software.
Oh, yes. There we go.
There we
Yes.
go. That's her.
I was thinking she should have called you.
Yeah.
You would have helped.
She wasn't using Audacity.
No.
But they're all kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Your score out of 10 this week?
6.5. It was good, but it didn't really further. It was not like. It was good, but not great.
I'm giving it 3. I hated it. I hated it for the stupid just for the stupid baby stuff. I can't get beyond it.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, all right. This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast, Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT, Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, Christy, Shandy, and English Victoria.
Thank you
very
so much.
folks. If you've ever tried to dig a car, write in to tell us about it. We're the talkofthestreet@gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street. Check out voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store, YouTube channel, and blog. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
We didn't do one this week.
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode. And we will be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.